kids of back in my day. Parents. What's the most annoying thing they ranted about? That their parents were way stricter and more overbearing, so we had no room to complain. Dial phones. They complained about how kids these days, specifically my brother and I, don't know how to use them after forgetting we had one in the house until I was 7. And I know full well how to use one. And yet none of them can operate a telegraph using Morse code. My boss refuses to believe I know how to read a map. Like an actual folding paper map. Drive a manual transmission car. Change a tire. Operate a VCR. I always found this ironic cause in my experience the same folks complaining about the struggle to use smartphones. Like, you know, the current kind of phones you'd want to use to call someone with. Back in their day, only complete losers had cars in high school. According to them, the cool guys were on the school bus with all the pretty girls. And they told me that with straight faces. So that was a effing lie. I think your parents were losers in high school. Dad, back in my day, if your dad made a joke about you and you make one back, he'd take you out back and beat you for disrespect. Me, that doesn't seem respectable. Beating people who you don't like up? Didn't you teach me to not do that? Dad, that was extremely disrespectful, and in my day I would have whipped you with my belt for that. When I was 11, I was hit by a car crossing the road. And it messed up the muscles in one of my legs. But I didn't officially find out about it until a couple years ago. I'm 23. So in high school I'd walk to school every day, and every day my calf muscle would feel like it was about to snap. I would tell my parents all the time. And always got the nowadays. We walked to school every day and it was way further blah blah blah. They thought I was trying to get rides to and from school and be lazy. Lying about being in pain. Or saying it was just growing pain and that it was normal. My mother would try and claim my siblings and I were lazy because when she was 14 she used to come home from school, walk the dogs, then dance all night. Turned out this translated to she would go out drinking and clubbing underage. Back in my days people weren't that often full of emotions because we didn't have so much free time. We were working, and if someone wasn't disciplined they sent them to the military, and that's exactly what your generation needs to get deprogrammed because you guys have way too much time to think about your emotions. My dad said the same Honestly, I'd rather be more in tune with my emotions than repressed 24/7. Got yelled at when I quit a job in college that paid $8 per hour. I made $3 an hour when I was your age. I would have killed to make that up. Something inflation. Quit after I realized the money I made in a month would barely pay for one of my textbooks. And I was taking 18 credits and didn't have enough time to actually read them. My dad and uncles aren't like to rant about how young people don't have any honesty or work ethic. My oldest and youngest uncle made moonshine. My middle uncle stole cars. My dad built moonshine running cars out of the parts, and my aunt ran off with a 50-year-old sugar daddy at 15. It took the car stealing uncle going to jail to straighten them out. My landlord summed it up nicely: you kids would have gotten shot for pulling half the stuff I did at your age. Well, they had some kind of ethics, just not the legal kind. My dad used to tell us about how he and his sisters had to walk 6 km to school each way in blinding blizzards. In 8 feet of snow. With only plastic bags to keep their feet warm. While somebody slapped them on the back of the head with a cold fish. And of course we believed him. Then one day at the farm. In the woods by the back 40. We found this old carriage on sled runners with a wood burning stove. We asked Grandpa what it was. I used to drive your dad and your aunts to school in that in the winter. The old horses would pull it. We never believed another story about my dad's hardscrabble upbringing ever again. I wonder if they had to go uphill both ways as well. It always drove me nuts when my parents would complain about how we never spent any time outdoors. Because back in their day they'd be tramping through the woods at all hours of the night. I wanted to do that. But I wasn't allowed outside. Back in my day we used to lay in the woods and built tree forts. Why don't you go and do that? No mom, we live in a suburban neighborhood where there is 2 woods in sight for 20 miles. And there is no one my age that lives nearby and we don't have any outside toys. What do you think I should do? Car seats. I don't care if you drove around with a baby laying in the front seat of your car. You aren't taking my toddler anywhere without a car seat. This one drives me nuts. Yes. Dad. My baby toddler needs a car seat properly installed in the car. Not just sitting on the backseat floor. No. The straps do not need to be nice and loose so she can wiggle around. No. Those aren't extra buckles. My dad won't be driving her anywhere. The most annoying thing they rant about is us not providing our kids the same life they had. My great-grandparents owned several thousand acres at the turn of the century. They passed down land, heirloom furniture, or thriving farm, etc. The next generation split that all up. Sold a lot of it to start their own business. The next generation the same. The last little plot of that is my mom's acre. Each generation inherited less and less. I will inherit nothing. I got no land to start my family with. Unlike them. No heirloom furniture. No money. Nothing. My family looks down on me and my cousins for struggling. Pretending they worked harder than we do. But they'll never know how hard our generation works for our kids. My grandma hates computers. And insisted that I continue practicing my cursive, which sucked. Because I would have to write all of my high school college essays in cursive like she did. Same with my mom. Joke's on them now, my handwriting is the bastard child of print and cursive, unless I write really slow, and computers are a thing. My stepdad always rants about me not buying a home when he bought one at 21 years old. He always forgets to mention that it only cost him $22,000. Job hunting. That's great that this worked for you in the 80s, but it's the 2010s. But just go in and apply. Just ask for the manager. That shows initiative. Right. Last time I did this at the insistence of my mother. They told me they don't keep printed applications anymore and to apply online. They were truly baffled that I came inside the store to apply for a job. My parents always complained that back in their day the kids were always subjected to corporal punishments and were super submissive. They forgot that they already did that to me. They're just complaining that it didn't work that well. Not that they're actually submissive to my grandparents. Basically I have bad parents. And they're bad people. When they get nostalgic over things like encyclopedias and catalogs. Don't play. You hated searching and waiting as much as we do. You love Amazon and Wikipedia too. When I read this, the first thing that popped into my head was, too bad you can't just thumb to a random article in Wikipedia like you could in old print encyclopedias. But then I thought about it. And it seemed unlikely I was the first person to have this thought. I did a bit of research. And yes, you can get Wikipedia to serve a random article. All through my teenage years my mom would get mad that I didn't know how to cook. Or clean something good enough. Or use something correctly, usually gardening tools. When I was your age I could run my family's B&B single-handed. Then when she was done telling me how stupid I was for not knowing, she'd take over and tell me to go away. Thanks for teaching me how to do it right. That's how my dad taught me car maintenance. Okay, so just unscrew the plug. Which one's the plug? Here, move, let me do it. Several minutes later. You know, you should really be the one doing this. Thanks, Dad. Sounds like a lot of older people I know. Will happily trash talk your lack of knowledge. Will not teach you how to do it properly. Will tell you to go away so they can do it themselves. Will trash talk you more if you even try to hang around and learn by observation. Apparently there was actual shoe could buy for a quarter. Like, great. There's not anymore. What significance does this have to me? Nothing? Thought so. Absolutely love when they completely discount the effects of inflation too. In 1970, a quarter was worth $1.65 in today's money. My mom was from Cambodia during the time when they were communist. Every time I ask for anything it's, back in my day. This is how most conversations go in my house. Cookie dough is just an example. Me. Mom, can I get some cookie dough for later? Mom. Back in my day we ate bugs and we starved for days fleeing from the communist. Dodging bullets. Running around dead bodies. And you're asking me for cookie dough? You're so unappreciative and spoiled. Me. I know would have worked. Back in my day kids didn't talk back to their parents or give them attitude. If they did they got a good beating. First of all, what you and your parents consider talking back is actually called having any sort of opinion different from yours. And yeah, maybe I do have an attitude. It should be expected. I'm young and stupid. But not so stupid that I can't have a thought of my own. And any attitude I do give you is mostly because my opinions aren't taken seriously and you don't listen to me. Like when if I'm a parent I'd at least explain to my kid why something is wrong. I realize it can get tiring, but there's a certain point where you do actual damage when you just do the because I said so to 14 years old over and over again. The most annoying thing to me is how my parents complain that nobody, from my community, speaks our native language anymore. They say back in my day, everyone spoke our language and today none of you kids can. Guess what? The adults never taught it. It wasn't used in the homes. So how the F are we supposed to learn it? And then I have people from the home country call me and speak and I'm like, you know, I barely understand. I can speak better than my siblings but not that much better. And they yell at me. Don't blame me. Blame my parents. And my parents and my friends' parents, they can all blame themselves and not their children. You kids get a trophy for everything now. You never learn how to try hard. Yes. When I was a child I got participation trophies. And they felt very patronizing. Also, I was 7. I didn't ask for the damn trophies. It was your generation who was giving them to me. I threw those participation trophies away so effing fast BC, it was so embarrassing. I didn't want them. I didn't walk around saying look at what I won. I hated them. My father likes to ramble about how back in his day he went to school. And also managed to work to provide sustenance to his mom and siblings. I think it's possible to study and work. But you have to be extremely lucky to earn enough to provide for a family these days while also studying. How I was always being a bad kid by ignoring them by browsing Facebook. While they ignore me when I ask them a question by browsing Facebook. Their excuses, we are your parents. We can do whatever we want. You are our kids so you have to respect us. I was an honor roll student. It isn't that hard. My mother, who took arts in high school, never went to college. And arguing with me about how it's not difficult to keep grades up. I'm a physics major. Mom, you don't know anything about what I'm doing. My dad is more fond of the phrase, when I was starting out. Which is basically the same thing. I think I should tell him, Dad, I haven't lived at home for more than 10 years now. I'm not looking to get married and have kids. Ever. I'm not starting out anymore. Neither is my younger, married sister who owns her apartment and has 2 dogs and is also not looking to have kids. We're seeing more cancer now. Why? When we were kids we just played and ran and were ornery. Gotta love that polio and measles. Yum. Back in my day we didn't have the internet. Dad IDK if you've noticed, but we still don't have internet 90% of the time. It astounds me that in today's day and age of technology where we can send emails to the space station and cruise ships in the middle of the ocean have Wi-Fi, that rural internet is still not even close to reliable. Not my parent but my grandmother, who basically raised me from age 8, likes to say by your age I was married, pregnant and working. What's wrong with you? She misses out the fact she was still living with her parents and her, now ex-husband, my bio Girandot, was in prison. I think I'm doing pretty well for myself. I haven't got a job but I'm not raising a kid that I don't want like most of the people my age in this day and age, and I'm really trying to make a life for myself. My parents like to go on about how technology and lazy parenting is the excuse, yes, excuse, for why mental health issues are rising. You know. Not because it's becoming less taboo to talk about it or anything. Their generation is the one doing the parenting. Though. Reminds me of a joke. My grandfather said to me, you and your generation rely too much on technology. And I told him no. You do, and pulled the plug to his life support.